right, continue on talking about modular synths. This is the notes. Actually, the notes are not very much, so we're going to be done with the notes as soon as we start. But basically, every part of a modular synth must be connected. So you've got your oscillators connected to the filters, connected to the amp, and you can also connect some kind of controller like a keyboard. Remember, for a keyboard, remember a couple things about MIDI. This is quite important when you're talking about stuff, and we're going to dive into this here with Reaktor in a second. But with MIDI, every time you send a MIDI message, you've got two things, well, three things that are being sent. You've got the note number, which is the pitch. You've got the length, which you've got a note on event, and the note on contains the note number. It also contains the velocity. So you've got your velocity level, which is how hard you press the note. And then you've got your pitch, and then you're holding the note down, and when you release it, when you release it, that's your note off. And they both contain pitch and velocity information. So that, as you're holding it down, that is your gate. Cairo. Did I ever get you? I did not get you, dude. I don't think you said anything earlier, did you? Did I miss it? Anyway, thank you for checking in. So, also, okay, here, I'm just going to hide this bad boy there. We're going to put that up later. Right, so the modular synths, you've got a controller like a keyboard, and that's going to have pitch and the gate, which is note on, note off, and then velocity. If some synths can receive velocity, some synths cannot receive velocity. In a basic modular synth, this is actually an online thing here that you can look up, and it's in your, here, let me go over here to desktop. Oop, there we go. In here, the synthesis introduction is this. Modular synthesis, let's see. Yep, so this was one, and you can actually do this at home. So I'll make this one actually do for both classes, and I think John will probably be okay with me assigning this. But this modular synth, let's see here, what is this introduction exercise? This is open live insert Reaktor 6 on a MIDI track. Okay, this is just playing around with some stuff. You don't need to do this one right now, but we'll talk about this one later today, actually. But this modular synthesis class here is, if you go to this website, and so you open this up, and it's a modular grid website, and it has this here. This is a basic, there's a cat here that is saying, "Damn cookies!" He looks like a very grumpy cat. That's so funny. Got it. All right. So here's the synth. Here's what it looks like. And it's a very, very basic synth, but it's kind of cool because you can actually cable things together in here. So here you've got an oscillator, and it's hard to see on my screen, I know, but if you go to it on your screen, you can maybe see a little bit better. Here you've got an oscillator. You've got different outputs here. If you mouse over things, you can see what the stuff is, some of it, the outputs anyway. What we can do is I can go from my sawtooth wave into the input on my low pass filter, audio in, like that. And the output here can go to the audio input here on my amplifier. And then the output of my amplifier can go to the input on my little speaker over here. And I can make it generate a sound, I can play notes and stuff like that. And that's like a basic setup for you. So what you may want to do with this is actually use this for the assignment and then take a screenshot and submit it. Now, not all of you have a computer at home. Most of you probably do have a computer at home. So if you have a computer, you have access to it, please do this assignment. And basically the assignment is just using the modular grid website, correctly patch a basic modular synth sound. Use the lesson 36 modular synths notes as guidance. It must make a sound and change pitch based on your keyboard input. Submit a screenshot here. So what you can do is you can go there, and down here to make it change pitch, what you would do is you would go and connect the CV out into the CV 1 volt up here, and the gate would come over here to one of these ADSRs, input, and then the output here is going to go into my CV here, and it's going to tell me how much it changes the sound and stuff. But I don't, mine is not connected up to my keyboard correctly on this computer. If you only have the iPad, I don't know if this works on the iPad or not. Modulargrid.net. If somebody has an iPod and they want to check it out and tell me if it works, I don't have an iPad really handy right now, but it might work, it might not work. It might not let you make the cable connections the same way. I'm not really sure. This is well, it looks like it's HTML5 and not Flash. So it seems like it should work on an iPad. But if you've got it working, or what you could do on an iPad is take a screenshot of it and then just make the cables connect using markup on your screenshot, like edit the screenshot and just draw the lines. Basically, it should end up looking like this. If you wanted to look at the notes in here, you can make it look like the notes in here as well. This is basically what you need it to kind of look like. But essentially with this, you have the oscillator, filter, amp, envelope, LFO, speaker, mixer, and the MIDI in. And that's all this stuff over here. So if we look at this section here, number 1, these are both oscillators. Number 2 is your filter. Number 3 is your amplifier. Number 4 down here are your envelopes. Number 5 is your LFO. 6 over on the right-hand side is your speaker. 7 is your mixer, and 8 is your MIDI input. So that's how you can get that working there. And if we keep going over here, basically it's just explaining everything I just explained about. And I really want to move on to Reaktor instead of spending a lot of time in here talking about this. So let's go ahead and move over to Reaktor, and I'm just going to explain the same stuff, but I'm going to use Reaktor to explain it, okay? So real quick, something about Reaktor is that Reaktor is essentially, it's a toolbox for making synths and effects. You can download patches made by people in the Reaktor online community. You can download stuff that Native Instruments has made. Some of it you have to pay for, some of it is, most of it's free. There's thousands and thousands of things online that you can download for free. If you do have Reaktor, and if you have Reaktor, that means you have a Native Instruments account. You can go to the nativeinstruments.com account, updates and drivers, user libraries, and then Reaktor user library to download more stuff. Let's see. Daniel says, I have a question. So on my Canvas, I have both AT102 classes that I can choose from. Do I submit the assignment from your class Canvas or John's? Because John's, the assignment says it's part of an unpublished module. So let's take a look at this. That's a great question, by the way. I've got mine synthesis turned on. I can actually go, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and publish John's as well because I'm here. And then if John has any beef with me, we can duke it out. Come on, John. Come on, buddy. Just kidding. Let's take a look at this for reals. Yeah, synthesis. Yeah, it's week 10. We're in week 10 right now. So let's go ahead and turn that on. Boop. Published. Finish him. So that's synthesis. So there you go. It should be on for you as well. So you can turn that in and then John can grade them at home. Cool? There you go. I got you. I got you. All right. So, all right, let's go back in here to Reaktor. So that's where you can download some stuff, and we can go over that a little bit later. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on that right now because what I want to use Reaktor for specifically is for showing you how to create your like modular synth type of things. Okay, so I want to do that. So if we keep looking in here, I'm going to skip all this stuff for now. We're going to go straight to the Reaktor blocks, and then after we're done talking about Reaktor blocks, we're going to come back and talk about other Reaktor things. So by the end of today, when we're done with all the lessons, you should have an understanding about how to use Reaktor blocks, but then you should also have an understanding about how to just go and use Reaktor anyway, and just in general, just general Reaktor things. Okay. Now, one thing I'm also going to say is that these diagrams that are in here are actually designed using an older version of Reaktor 6. Reaktor 6 is the current version, but it's like Reaktor 6.2 or 3 or something like that. And the newest version, they actually changed the way the blocks work. They're a lot easier to use now. So this still works, and all the connections are the same. It's just that the page you're looking at, the window you're looking at inside Reaktor is going to look a little bit different. Okay, so that's what I want you to keep in mind when you're using this stuff, is that it looks different, but it actually operates the same. So everything we're talking about, and I'm going to show you in the video how to do it with the newer version of Reaktor, because that's what I have on my computer. But if you're going to follow along with the PDF, it does look slightly different. Okay, so I hope you're watching this video in the future. Future people, when you're watching this video, I hope you don't freak out about this, because otherwise I'm going to get a lot of redundant emails. And I'm just going to say, instead of answering them, I'm literally going to say, check the video, because one of my things I hate more than a non-furry cat is answering people's questions multiple times, the same question over and over again. And there's nothing worse than like a scaly cat, like a cat with scales. You know, they're just not fun to pet. Yeah. The only thing worse, I think, is answering people's redundant questions. All right. So, with that being said, take a look at the blocks here, and let's go to Ableton Live. And we're going to open up Reaktor 6. Now, with Reaktor, hold on, let's jump in here and take a look at this. This is Reaktor 6. This is Reaktor 6 FX. We're not talking about Reaktor 6 FX. We are talking about Reaktor 6, not Reaktor 6 FX. What do you think Reaktor 6 effects are for? What do you think they're for, Reaktor 6 effects? You only get one shot at this. Don't mess up. Is anybody? Time delays, processing. Yes. Yes, these are two very good answers. Basically, anything that's an effect. Processing stuff, delays, reverbs, compressors, all the fun things. That's what Reaktor 6 effects are for. Reaktor 6 is for instruments, synthesizers, samplers, groove boxes, things that create the sound, that generate sound. That's what Reaktor 6 is for. And Reaktor 6 effects are for things that affect the sound, the processes, signal processors. Thank you guys very much. When I have you back in my class, I'm going to give you a cookie. Last night I baked cookies from scratch. That's one of the things I've been learning how to do, is I've been learning how to bake. Because the best way to a person's heart is through their stomach. And I think that goes for guys and girls, for whoever. So anybody can use that piece of wisdom. That's a free one right there. All right. Best way to a person's heart is through their stomach. Nom, 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 nom. And they're darn good cookies too. They're oatmeal chocolate chip. Yeah. Not oatmeal raisin, because that's just ridiculous. Oatmeal chocolate chip. Oatmeal raisin is like putting pineapple on a pizza. Ugh. So bad. So bad. And you guys can't talk to me right now, so you can't say anything. Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, you agree? Good, all right. The Great Pandemic Baking Show. Should I start putting that up on Twitch? learn about synthesizers and watch Tony bake. All right, so in here, I'm going to get rid of these other channels here. All right, so I got Reaktor 6. I'm going to throw that on my track. Boom. There we are. So with the newer versions of Reaktor 6, if you have this thing here, press this show start screen when opening Reaktor, it's going to always show this start screen. And what you've got here is you got play, patch, and build. Build is the most complicated one. It means that you're going to make your own custom synths, samplers, effects, stuff like that. Patch is if you're going to use Reaktor blocks, which is what we're going to do today. And then this one over here, play, is for if you just want to like use the synths that basically come with Reaktor, which is also great. They're these two here on my screen right now are fantastic. The other one is harder and can be very, very daunting. As a matter of fact, you could literally teach a whole semester on just using Reaktor to build synthesizers and effects, probably a whole year. It gets really deep really fast. So they're DJ and bake at the same time. What? I think you're onto something, RJ. All right, so I'm gonna click on patch, and patch basically means I'm gonna make a synth, and I'm gonna go ahead and make my screen all the way across. Now we don't need that list of names here anymore. If you're not on there, you're not on there. Sorry, not really sorry. All right, so here we go. Here's my Reaktor screen. And so over here on the left-hand side, oops, let me just make it so it's actually on the left-hand side. Over here on the left-hand side, we have, up here, you've got the player window. We don't want the player window. What we want is the library, and there's block space, which is if you're using the free version of Reaktor, which you may be, you're only gonna have block space. And in here, you're gonna have bento and utilities. There's a lot you can do with this, so it's not a horrible setup by any means. But if you have the full version of Reaktor, you're also going to have blocks primes. What happened? Why am I? Oh, I know what happened. Sorry. So blocks primes is, there we go, sorry. I got thrown off. A free roll of toilet paper with every delivery. What? That's dope. Good idea there, pizzeria. So if we have this here, blocks primes comes with all these other modules that you can use. Now on each of these modules here, you're going to see there's inputs and then there's outputs and things you can connect together. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my bento box here. And down here, I'm going to grab an oscillator. Just going to move this down here. The bento oscillator, I'm going to drag that in. And then we're also going to have a filter. Drag that in there. I can move that right there. And we're also going to have the VCA. Now VCA stands for Voltage Controlled Amplifier. And it's essentially just a fancy word for an amplifier. The reason why it says voltage controlled is because it comes from the old analog gear. They're trying to make it analog and fancy, which is, it was using, voltage control was how you actually got things to change and move around using the modulation sources. So we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to call these what they are. This is the oscillator. I'm going to go to properties. I can right click on it and select properties. And up here in the corner, first of all, it has a description about it, but I can just rename it oscillator 1. Now, what you may want to do, what I like to do, is I like to shorten things. I'm always abbreviating stuff. So instead of calling it an oscillator, I'm just going to call it an OSC1 oscillator, OSC oscillator. I'm going to go over here and click on my bento box SVF, and we're going to call this just filter. And we're not going to name it the whole thing. We're just going to call it FILT, filter. And then over here, my bento box VCA, instead of having all these words, it's so many words, we're going to call it just amp. How about that? Let's keep things easy, shall we? Now, I'm a really big believer in always labeling everything all the time. I recommend that you label everything all the time. So label stuff, keep it labeled. And the reason why we're labeling these things now, because you might be saying, Tony, wait, hold on. I've only got one oscillator, one filter, and one amplifier. Why do I need to label all this stuff right now? It's right there. It's super easy. Well, you're right. It is super easy. But what we need to make sure we do is keep it labeled from the beginning, because when we make it more difficult, which we're going to do in a minute, you're going to thank me, because instead of looking at all these things called bento box oscillator, instead of looking at 3 of them called the same thing, now we're going to have oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and oscillator 3. Okay, so boom. All right, so we got this oscillator, filter, and amp. So if I connect my amp, first of all, let's start backwards. Let's start from our output. Our destination is the output. So we want to get to this output. That's where our goal is. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the amp and connect that up to the output. Boom and boom. The amplifier is always going to be connected to the output. And I can just click on my cable here and just drag it twice. Now, one thing you can do is from any source to any destination, from any output to any input, you can actually connect multiple cables. So I can have one source going out to multiple places. And this is a thing that you can do with Reaktor really easily. You just click on the output once, and then you click and drag again, and it just connects out to both places. And if I move this over here, you can see a little bit easier how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Now, we do have the stereo thing here, which we don't really need, to be honest. We don't really need that right now. So I'm going to actually delete this levels here. And I'm also going to delete the utility clock. Later on, we're going to need a clock when we start doing sequencing stuff. But for now, don't need a clock. Okay. So we got this. And we're going to go backwards again. What is connecting to the amplifier? Well, if you put your order just like mine here, we've got our oscillator, we've got our filter, we've got our amp. This order, the reason why I chose this order was because this is the order of the signal flow. So we're going to go from left to right. So if we're going backwards, we're going to go from the output of the filter to the input of the amplifier. Boom. And if we go from the output of the oscillator to the input of the filter, boom, there's that. Now, one thing I want to show you is when I turn this volume up, wait, hold on, let's see. Should be, yeah, we're getting a signal, but we're not hearing anything yet. And the reason why we're not hearing anything is because it's so low. I'm going to turn the level up here. Not the level, but the pitch. So there's our pitch. There you go. I'm going to keep it as a triangle wave just to make it so it's not killing our eardrums here. I'm going to zoom in. So you can see here, I've got level happening. Now, at this point, I'm going to turn that down for now. At this point, it would totally be fair for you to be saying, wait, Tony, well, hold on a second. Why do you have signal happening? Why am I hearing sound? I haven't played anything on my keyboard yet, and I'm already hearing sound. Well, the reason, actually, this is better asked as a question. Why are we hearing sound? Does anybody know why we're already hearing sound as soon as I turn this amplifier up when I haven't hit any keys on my keyboard? And you know what? I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to play keys on my keyboard, and you're going to notice, hold on, the sound is not changing pitch. Not changing pitch. Anybody want to take a guess at why this is? I'm going to take a drink of water while y'all guess. Sorry, it is not a test sound. And also, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to get something to clean up this water I just spilled all over the floor. Hold on a second. I'll be back and I'll check your answers. All right, so I'm liking these answers a lot. Let's see here. Linking Heart says the oscillator shoots out a frequency. Yes. Skrillium says the routing. Yes. RJ says because the oscillator is being generated and there's no keyboard control put into the module signal path. That's right, and it's not a horrible way to phrase it. And that's all you got. It's good enough. And then Kilo. Oh, Kilo. What's up, Kilo? Kilo, which class are you in? You're in John's class, right? I think you're in John's class. It says the humming sound was the electrical current running through the audio jack. That is less correct, but I like your energy. So yes, the routing, the oscillator is outputting the sound correct. So the oscillator, if you remember, oscillators are outputting a constant sound. They're literally just putting the sound out. Boop. It's coming out all the time. And because this oscillator is going into the filter, and the filter is going straight into the amp, as soon as I turn the amp up, we're hearing this right here. And turn this down like that. Right? And I can turn up my resonance. Right? And you'll notice this resonance doesn't sound nearly the same as the ones we were listening to earlier. But that's what's happening. It's just the sound is coming out constantly. There's nothing to stop the sound because that's the job of the amplifier. The amplifier's job is to start and stop the sound. So we need to make it, no, that's fine. We need to make it so that the oscillator does two things. We need to make it, well, not the oscillator, but we need to make it so the sound starts and stops. And we need to also make it so that the pitch changes. Let's do the pitch first. The pitch is super easy on here. So I'm just going to go over here and scroll up. And the pitch, literally all we do is just connect the note in here, which is our MIDI in. And you can see when I click my keyboard here, it flashes this note in. Okay. And what I do is I connect my pitch to the oscillator pitch. Boom. So now, if I turn my amplifier, oh. All right, there we go. So I can do that, boom. Now, you'll notice that the pitch got really, really high. And what that means is, this is way up, too high up. So, and we got, let's see here, Lorenzo Melendez. Let me go ahead and put you in. You're in Sickett's class. Yep, cool. Lorenzo Melendez. All right, so there's that. And, okay, cool. All right, so we can see if we play this. If I turn this number down, back down to 0, now we've got the right notes. Cool, but it still doesn't start and stop. We want this to start and stop. So we've got the pitch part handled, but we don't have the start and stop part handled. So what are we going to use to make this so it starts and stops? How do we make the sound stop playing and start playing when we hit a key on the keyboard? How are we going to do that? Somebody let me know. I'm going to take another drink of water and try not to spill my water this time. No answers? Envelope generator, yes! High five, boom, boom, boom. That's not me smacking you in the face, that's me giving you a high five. It's right, it looks like it's coming into your face. All right, oh, Kashan, what is up, dude? Cool, awesome, I got you. All right, So you're absolutely right, Agent Orange. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an envelope generator. I'm going to go over here to these ones here, library, bento box. And in the bento box, we've got the ADSR envelope. I'm going to drag it down here. And I'm going to give it a name by clicking on properties up here. And we're going to call this one amp envelope. AMP ENV. Boom. And I called it the amp envelope because I want it to be an envelope for my amplifier. All right. Whose man's is this? I don't know what that means. All right. So now I'm going to connect the output of my envelope over here to my, here, let me zoom out, over to my amplifier here. Right. So the output is going to go into one of these here. So each module in Reaktor has two like modulation inputs, A and B. So what I can do here is I can go out here to A here, boom. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this so that every time I hit a key on my keyboard, it's going to trigger this envelope to do something, and that's using the gate. So if I go up here to my gate out right here, gate, there's gate, I click on that and I'm going to drag the cable down to the amp envelope gate, boom. And now, every time I hit this, you see down here, it says gate. It's triggering that gate every time I hit a key on my keyboard. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to make that gate do something, the envelope do something here. And the way this works is, now that I've connected it up to modulation input A, I can click on the A here, and now I can set how much I want this envelope to affect this parameter, which in this case is my level. So if I want it to go all the way up, if I turn it all the way up, that means that every time I hit a key on my keyboard, the envelope is going to make the level jump to 100%. There we go. Cool. Okay. So sounds like it's working, right? That's it. Right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things on the screen really, and just know how to connect them up together. Pretty cool. Okay, so one more time, we've got the oscillator connected up to our filter, connected up to our amplifier. That's the audio signal right there. And we've got the amp envelope connected to our amplifier, modulation A. Now, it doesn't matter if you have this going into A or B. A or B there's the same, but if I have it going into B, if I have this going into B, I need to make sure that B is set up the same way as A was. It sounds exactly the same. I just always use A if A is not taken. There we go. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, this note in is for our MIDI keyboard to make sure that our MIDI keyboard connects up properly. We've got the pitch going to the pitch, and we've got the gate going to the gate. And that's it. That's pretty easy to set up a basic synth in Reaktor. Now, let's just take a look in the notes so you can see the older Reaktor 6 way to do the blocks. So I'm going to go back to my notes over here. I'm going to make this bigger. There we go. It's pretty simple. We haven't made it too difficult yet, but you're right. It is pretty simple. And this is exactly the same thing in here. So Yes, this is describing all the same stuff here. This is literally the same one. This first one here is a little bit of a simplified version where I'm just connecting the gate to the VCA, but it's not really showing much. But all right, so here's basically the one I just had. So you can see here the pitch out on the note in goes to pitch. The output of the oscillator goes to the input of the filter. The output of the filter goes to the input of the VCA. And then the output of the VCA goes to our outputs. And then we have the gate here connected up to the gate down here. And the output is going to mod A. And you just set up how much you want it to affect it. And that's it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Not self-explanatory, but it's pretty easy once you've got it working. Cool. Now, we have like 5 minutes, and so what I want to do is I just want to start getting things going to set up the next part that we're going to talk about, and that is getting a couple of oscillators going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag. You can do it a couple ways. I can right-click on this one here, and I can select duplicate. So now I've got this one here. I'm going to go to Properties. I'm going to disconnect the filter here. I'm going to go to Properties. I'm going to give this a name, Oscillator 2, and let's make 3. I'm going to duplicate this one as well. And this one here is going to be Oscillator 3. Boom. So now I have 3 oscillators going on. That's funny. Kilo. All right, so we have these 3 oscillators going on. Now, in order to make the oscillators so we can hear them, what are we going to have to add in? Because right now, we've only got 1 input on the filter, and we need to actually have, so we can have 3 oscillators going into 1 input. So how do we get 3 oscillators, 1, 2, 3, going into one, I don't know which way is better, input. Aux send, bus it? Not busing it. I mean, we're routing the audio, yes. But what are we going to route the audio to? Whenever I have multiple machines and I want to have them go through, like, say, 1 speaker, what do I need to create? Serial? No. It's something that most studios have. DJ setups have it. Studios have it. A mixer. Yes. You're absolutely correct. A mixer. Yep. Nope. Not a pre. A mixer. Okay. So we need a mixer. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over here and we're going to grab the bento mix. We're going to stick that in right here. Boom. Now the bento mix is just a 4-channel mixer. And once again, I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to Properties. I'm going to give it a name. Mixer. Super easy. There we go. And I'm going to set my output from my mixer to go into my input on the filter. And then because we named these oscillators 1, 2, and 3, it becomes super easy to tie them into the correct inputs on the mixer. Here's input 1, 2, and 3. And there we go. Let me change the frequency of these. Cool. And now, if I turn the volume up, our sound, and we can go over here to our filter and mess with it. Awesome. So there you go. And this is a basic synth setup for a lot of basic synths. And that's it. So let's take a break. Let's be back at 4 p.m. It's a 10-minute break. Let's be back, and we're going to continue talking about this particular setup. All right? Cool. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.